Saying goodbye to my van. It's been a wild ride, magical Mrs. Mistopheles. Thank you for being a home to me and a safe haven and getting me everywhere safely and across the country and moving. This van was like part of my family, as weird as that sounds for a material object, but kept me safer than a lot of people in my life have. I don't want to cry, but it's so sad getting rid of a vehicle. This has been my baby for 5 years. And I hunted for like months and months and months to find her because I was dead set on getting a Grand Caravan with stow and go seating. Carried me through my van life adventures. I lived in here in like minus 40 in the winter. I'm sad. Saying my goodbyes to magical Mrs. Mistopheles. Oh, well, never was there ever a van as clever as magical Mrs. Mistopheles. Bum, ba, bum, bum. I'm completely dead without driving anywhere. Hello. Surprise. Sorry, I know it has been a very long time since I filmed a video, but I am officially back. I guess the short of it is that I have no longer been doing van life, and so I didn't really know what to post on this channel anymore. But the long of it is what we're going to get into in this video, and I want to talk about all of the perks of van life, what I learned from van life, and whether I would do it again, or whether I'm planning to do it again, so stay tuned. Okay, so we have a lot of grounds to cover in this video, and I think it might be a bit too windy outside, so I'm going to take it inside for this one. So I guess to pick up where we left off, in my last videos, I basically had arrived in Vaughan, Ontario, and my radiator had blown up, and I needed to fix my van. And that is actually where I still am today. I'm still living in Maple, Vaughan, Ontario, by Wonderland, Canada's Wonderland, the theme park here in Canada. So essentially what had happened is I was on my way to come visit my friend Maxime from college, and my radiator blew up quite literally the second that I arrived. Like right as I arrived, I got out of the vehicle, went to go give her a hug, and the radiator just like blew up like a big fountain of water. Now at that point in time, she had told me, oh, you're welcome to stay here as long as you need. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you, but let's just get this radiator fixed and get back on the road. Because I was absolutely loving van life. I was having a great time. I was struggling at that point because it was around May and it was starting to get very hot in the van, starting at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And we'll get to that later. But essentially, I ended up staying here for longer than I was planning to for the summer, because as soon as I got here, they offered for me to stay here and told me I could stay as long as need be. We ended up fixing the van. I got Stuart's help. That's my other roommate. That's Maxime's husband. And we fixed the van together, fixed the radiator. I just bought a new one off of Amazon. It was actually a lot cheaper and a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be, especially to do at home. And the van was perfectly fine after that. It had been overheating the entire time I owned it. The entire time it was just the radiator that was the problem. I thought it was going to be a bigger problem, but did have later problems down the road. This is like 2 years ago at this point. So moved in, fixed the radiator. They were getting married, the two roommates, at the end of the summer. And they had offered for me to stay here all the way up to the wedding, because, and after, but they wanted me to stay until the wedding. They wanted me to do the hairstyling, because I went to school for hairstyling like back about in the early 2000s. And so they wanted me to do a bunch of the bridesmaids' hair. I did that. They wanted me to be in the groom's party, and I was like, okay, this is too much. I can't do both. So I declined that, but I did do all of the hairstyling. And then I just kind of ended up moving in afterwards. So I quit van life. I kept the van. I returned to working in the film industry. And I guess I didn't completely quit van life. I was dabbling in it here and there. I was still traveling and doing trips. I just didn't film that, but I would go stay in the van for a couple days, go for a trip, or anytime I would go visit somebody, I could take up van life. I kept the back of the van completely empty and could sleep in there. I just removed all of my stuff. So for me, I absolutely loved van life. Now, it was coming to a point where this channel hasn't ever created me income. I'm not monetized or anything. And I was working strictly on another YouTube channel to try and create income, and it was just not bringing in enough money at that point. And so I started doing film work again, working in the film industry, and I started dog walking, but majority of my income was coming from doing background, where you're just like the person in the back of the scenes in the film industry. And I started doing that, continued working on the other YouTube channel. Here we are 2 years later, and I just want to say that I absolutely miss van life so much. It's just not feasible at this point in my life without a side income, because it is quite expensive. It's definitely cheaper than like renting an apartment if you do it wisely, but it still comes with a lot of bills, and especially if you're still paying off like visas and loans and student loans like I am, you still need quite the income. So for me, when I was doing van life, I am in southern Ontario right now, or southeastern Ontario, and honestly, it was pretty friendly for van life in terms of staying at Walmarts. But outside of like your traditional staying at a Walmart location, there was not a lot. I didn't get to do anything that you see on these van life channels that are like staying on, what's the equivalent of the Crown land? I don't remember what they call it, but basically Crown land in the United States. They're staying in all of these beautiful locations and going through the desert and all of that. We don't have, like, southeastern Ontario has like pretty very 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 little crown land, and any crown land that you can find, you can't stay there. You can't stay at any of the roadside parks. There's like pretty much nowhere to stay, especially once I got into Vaughan, which is in the GTA. Like, we're a suburb of Toronto, and van life is quite impossible in Toronto unless you are paying hefty parking fees or somebody has a parking spot. Like, just stealth van life is not very friendly in Toronto, and Toronto itself is outrageously expensive. There's a spot here in Vaughan, though, if anybody is doing van life and they're traveling through Vaughan, between like Jane and Major Mac and the Walmart, where you can park for I think 3 days. I've never parked there because I haven't been needing anywhere to park. That's like a couple blocks from my house, but I have seen it. There's lots of vans parked there. There's no problem parking there. So if you are going to be staying in Maple, or you're trying to do a trip to Wonderland, that would be the best place to park in my opinion. There's also a Walmart there, but I'm not sure if it's van life friendly. I haven't stayed there either. Plenty of Walmarts here in this area. Would I do van life again? Absolutely. I don't have my van anymore. I had to sell her. So I did have some other problems that I fixed. I ended up fixing the electrical. That was like a quick, cheap fix. If you saw my previous videos, I did have a lot of issues with the electrical, and I just ordered new windows and new electrical side panels to fix the windows and the locks. It was just plug and play off of Amazon. Cheap, completely fixed, no problem. But the van was from Alberta, and I'm living in Ontario now. When I brought it to the mechanic to get a pre-inspection to see if I could get it registered here in Ontario, they told me that it wasn't worth all of the stuff that needed to be done in order for it to be insured and put on the road in Ontario. So I had to continue keeping it insured and registered in Alberta while I was traveling, and avoided becoming an actual Ontario resident until I stopped doing van life. So that was one major problem. Also had the cracked windshield, which you need to have a perfectly clean windshield here in Ontario. You don't in Alberta. But what it came down to is I started hearing this absolute screeching, grinding in the van, and it was coming from the front driver's side tire. And I thought it was the rotors or the brakes needing to be, or I thought it was the brakes that needed to be replaced, but the whole rotors, everything was done in there. And so just those repairs ended up being more than really the cost of the van at that point. It was a 2009 Dodge Caravan with the stow and go seats. I'm going to miss her so much. Her name was Magical Mrs. Mistopheles, and she really was magical. She got me all the way from Grand Prairie, Alberta to Belleville, Ontario, all the way up to like Ottawa, Toronto, Niagara Falls, all over the place. She lasted several years. I only paid $3,200 for her back during COVID. Good luck getting a van for that price here now. She got me everywhere, and then I lived in her for the entire time that I was doing van life. Now, people go into van life for different reasons. For me, it was, I guess, half necessity, I would say, and half just because I wanted to. Like, I was planning to move. I was so tired of Belleville. I was working in retail. My roommate that I was living with was like, our living situation was just absolute chaos. So, for me to start van life, honestly, the timing was just right at the right time, so I decided to go for it. I had been planning to do van life ever since I got the van. That's why I got the van. I was living in Alberta. I wanted to travel up to Ontario, do van life, travel around, see if I even where I guess I wanted to live in Ontario. And then I ended up taking a rental pretty quickly and ended up doing van life just 2 years later instead, but I kept the van. So for me, after I sold the van, because I ended up having to sell the van in December because I had all of those issues with it, it wasn't worth replacing. So now I currently don't have a vehicle at all. I have been thinking about doing car life or just getting another van, but right now used vehicle prices are absolutely crazy and I don't have the funds to get a new vehicle. And so van life will have to be on hold for now, but I would love to do it again sometime in the future. I would like the idea of traveling around in a small car and doing it in a compact car. The only thing for me, though, is that storage is so insanely expensive here in Ontario and really everywhere, I think, now. And when I decided to start van life, it wasn't reasonable at all to pay for a storage unit. You wouldn't be saving any money at all. So I actually built my bed and everything in the back of my van out of all of my belongings, and I had everything in the van the entire time that I was doing van life. So I never had like a nice, tidy, minimalist experience. That wasn't my experience doing van life, and that's what I would have loved to have. I didn't want to be lugging around everything, but at like $500 a month for a storage unit, it's just not practical whatsoever anymore. So I think going forward on this channel, I am going to make more van life videos specifically on my experience and like the best things about van life and the worst things about van life for anybody that is considering doing it. I do want to talk about all of the logistics and everything in micro detail, so if you do have any questions or you've been considering it, please let me know down in the comments and I will try and answer those for you. But for this channel, I kind of want to do some more deep dives into other alternative ways of living, like micro homes, mining plots. That's one that my dad did for several years. He just rented mining plots and he would go live on them for several months while he was mining, and you're allowed to have your van or whatever you have up there. You just can't build a permanent spot. I would love to try van life in the United States, but I would love to do more traveling and take you guys along on those journeys and just different alternative ways of living, because that is what I am all about. My mom and I have been talking about getting a place in Mexico or going to spend several months in Mexico per year, so next time I see her, I would love to bring her on the channel and we can talk about the Canadian experience of wanting to find greener pastures that aren't so damn expensive. My mom is around the age of retirement right now. She doesn't want to return to corporate, and she is really struggling to find a way that's going to be sustainable to live and retire here in Canada, because the pricing and living costs here are outrageous right now. So I think that that's probably relatable to most Canadians that are watching, whether you're preparing for retirement or you're just looking long ahead in the future at like, how is this even going to be possible? I have no retirement savings already. For me, I'm 36 and I have like no retirement fund. I have no vehicle. I'm really living like month to month. Right now I'm working in the film industry. It's been very slow. I still have my main YouTube channel. It brings in like pennies a day though, so it's not a sustainable income. And when you're doing van life or living off the grid in any way, you definitely need to have some kind of income and some way to support yourself. So it was nice to record this for you guys and to talk to you guys again. I'm looking forward to connecting with you all in the comments. It has been a very long time. One of you just stumbled upon my main channel this week, so very interesting, because I just finished filming the beginning of this video before I stumbled across the channel. So hello if you're watching. And yeah, stay tuned. I will see you guys soon. If you're doing van life, let me know in the comments. If you've been thinking about doing van life, let me know in the comments. For me, it was majority positive, to be completely honest. I would love to do it again. See you soon.